we are very excited about our guests. Let's hear it for young kings of the Iron Throne, Jack Gleeson, aka Joffrey Baratheon, and Tom Glynn-Carney, aka Aegon Targaryen, as they discuss having the role of the Seven Kingdoms Protector of the Realm, King of the Andals, First Men. You get the idea. Come on, y'all. By another young king today, but we had a bit of a snafu. I think we have a video of him actually sending his virtual greetings.
Hello, Isaac here. To apologise and explain why I'm not here with you this weekend. On Monday, I went to fill out some forms and went to grab my passport to fill them out, and it has vanished. And the past 4 days, 4 or 5 days, have been spent racing against the clock, turning my house upside down, calling round everywhere I can. I'm so grateful to the organisers for putting in a heroic effort, trying to find ways of getting a passport, urgently. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. And I don't have my passport, and I can't join you in sunny Los Angeles. Instead, I'm stuck in London where it's freezing cold, and I'm so sad not to meet everyone. I've been looking forward to this convention for such a long time. I know it's
Jack, is that just like classic Isaac?
Bring me a 10. It's like he got played out, your time's up.
So, as we said, we're calling this kind of our panel of young kings. Jack, what do you think? I'm curious if you have any advice for Tom going into season 2 of a very ominous Iron Throne situation.
Well, I mean, are you going to be in season 2? Are you allowed to say that?
Can't say a word, Jack.
You can't say
that.
Say a word. Well, if you're going to be in season 2, then that's half the battle.
I am in season 2.
Just showing up. That's half the battle. Just getting through the day. Just trying to do, a good job as king, and having fun with it. Having fun. That's it.
Good advice.
What does having fun with it look like when you play? Like you both are kind of stuck playing pretty horrible characters, if you don't mind me saying so.
I mean, it's I always just had a blast. Yeah, kind of have taking like a mini power trip. I don't know if you get to sit on the Iron Throne or wear a crown. I mean, it's sort of everyone's little secret fantasy to be a king for the day. So I think just really go with the power trip. Boss people around, just be a horrible colleague to work with.
I just hope it lasts longer than a day.
Tom, Jack, I wonder if you might tell us what your perception of your character's ruling style is.
I don't think Aegon's worked that out yet.
No?
No. I don't quite think he's fashioned a style for himself. I think he's just going to sort of see how it all goes and probably make a fair few mistakes on the way.
Yeah, I don't know how much Joffrey thought about the long term. I think probably wasn't very bright intelligent. So just wake up and sort of look at his to-do list of who to torture or be cruel to, and just get through the day. A few Zoom meetings, that kind of thing.
I mean, it is interesting thinking about both of your characters because you are definitely reviled, but you're also victims in your own ways too, I think, both in the case of Joffrey and Aegon. I mean, neither of you asked for being, to be put in the roles that your characters were put in.
It's a good point. I mean, I suppose yeah, you can always see the victim side of anyone, really. But I don't know how much good it does to empathise or sympathise with Joffrey. It's usually just probably better to just hate him and move on.
Okay.
Yeah, similarly with Egon, I think. I'm not sure how much he's earned people's sympathy yet, but as time goes on, maybe we'll see those colours turn.
Oh.
I said maybe.
So Jack, how would you kind of shake Joffrey off after a day of being a monster?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
What are you saying?
No, I found it pretty easy. I mean, it was so much fun being on set with all of the cast and crew that, yeah, I didn't really want to stay inside of Joffrey's mind any longer than I had to. So, yeah, just a cold shower and a beer, I guess. That's the way to shake it off.
See, that's the sort of advice I'm after.
Okay, there you go.
Cold shower and a beer.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I'm glad you can pick that up. That's important.
Do you ever find any, Jack, you were mentioning yesterday when you auditioned, that you heard laughter and you weren't sure what that was keen to, but did you ever find any humor in either of your performances? I mean, your characters are so tortured and so powerful, and that's, combined with their own innate sense of, weakness and self-worth. And sometimes that manifests in ways that, while the things they're doing are horrible, almost the way they go about it can seem funny. Did you ever find humor in your performances?
Yeah, there was a section in episode 8 around the banquet table of House of the Dragon where Aegon goes over to Baela and basically propositions himself as an ex-suitor. And there was a moment there, just his nonchalance and his sort of balls to the wall attitude about it. I found quite funny. The fact he was completely oblivious to the fact that he was sounding like such a lech. I found it hilarious. And I think that maybe helped, because if I hadn't, I would have hated Aegon. And I don't think you can hate anyone you play. You have to find the humour and you have to find what you like about them for it to feel real and true. So yeah, I think it's really important to find humour, even in the darkest moments.
Yeah, and I guess characters that are so unself-aware, perhaps in that scenario, that does lead to a certain dramatic irony or comedic irony. So I always enjoyed leaning into those moments too.
So just so you and the audience know, we are going to get to audience questions probably in about 10 minutes. So if you want to start thinking about what you would like to ask, just start thinking. You can line up whenever you want. There are mics on either side of the room, just so you know. So had you two met each other before coming to this?
We met yesterday.
That's so cool. So what other wisdom do you have to impart, Jack, on this endeavor that Tom is
Teach me,
taking
almighty
on?
master.
Oh my God. Yeah, I guess just try and be as nice as possible to the writers so they don't kill off your character.
I really love your work.
No, Tom's doing a great job. He doesn't need any advice.
So did you two read the source material? I imagine it's got to be such a, especially with an adaptation like this that is so well beloved and has such a huge and rabid fan base, to figure out kind of the balance between doing the source material justice but also coming up with your own interpretation and embodiment of the character. I would love to hear a little bit about how each of you kind of approach that.
Yeah, I mean, I read the first book, the Game of Thrones book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. Yeah, and I definitely got a lot from the descriptions that George R. R. Martin wrote. Stuff about the physicality or how the character held himself. So I definitely, just helped with my characterization a lot. But then, when it comes to the scripts, I feel like they were so well written in and of itself. In many ways, all I had to do was just read them and do the writing justice. and everything else that happens in and around, like obviously having great directors and great castmates to vibe off and to act off. So it all kind of comes together. But yeah, I did appreciate the source material.
Yeah, likewise. I definitely felt like it was my responsibility to do the work. It's got such a wide and devoted fan base that I felt it was only right for me to sort of join that merry band, and have a good idea of what the background was and who these people were and what the interrelationships were, and how everyone was connected. Because as we all know, the family tree is so convoluted. So yeah, that took a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, like Jack was saying, in terms of the characterization and stuff, it really helped reading how George basically sort of crafted these individuals so delicately and uniquely against each other. Turning up on set after having read that definitely made me feel more enlightened than I would have done otherwise. But yeah, I think again, like the writers are so talented. That they seem to sort of take these great golden nuggets out of George's books and throw them in. They just explode into this, sort of disperse into this web of sort of tangled narrative that, they do all the work itself.
Were there ever moments on set where you're in a scene and you're thinking, well, will my character do this, or what if I did this? And how do you approach moments like that where you're like, I wonder if Joffrey would load another quarrel and then shoot. How do you approach those kind of conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually somebody that, certainly in Game of Thrones, I was just so trusting of the director that we would have conversations, but I don't really remember. You'd offer things in a rehearsal, or you'd offer things in conversation, but I usually just listen to the director, to be honest. I just do what they say, because
That's how you don't get fired.
Yeah. But I think it's definitely important, and every director has a different relationship with an actor and vice versa, but I think it is important to think in a creative way and be open to new ways of doing things, or to new ways of looking at a scene and throwing out your ideas and putting new ones in and collaborating in that way. But yeah, I just felt very lucky with the immense talent of the directors I worked with. I was just like, yeah, your way is usually the right way. What about you?
Yeah, no, similarly. I think, there's always a couple of moments where I as an actor feel like, maybe if I throw a little flavour in here, it might be received well. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But it was great. It was a gift working with the directors I got to work with on season 1 of House of the Dragon, Peter Patel and Claire Kilner. They were wonderful. They really allowed us as the actors to have the space to create and collaborate with the writers and with, not so much the writers, with the directors and with the other creatives around us. And I liked to do a couple of takes with their notes and stuff and once we felt like we got that, do an extra take just for free, just to try something. And sometimes those takes were taken, and sometimes they didn't work in terms of the bigger arc of the story. But that's what you do. That's our jobs as actors, to sort of give variety, give some options, and see which works.
I think just being open to those creative flows and making choices that aren't always the right choices. But if you're in that sort of space, that imaginative space, then it sort of filters down into the performance somehow.
Does either of you watch the TV show as it airs, or have you already done enough at that point?
We were talking about this a bit yesterday, weren't we? This is the first time I've ever seen myself in something before.
Wow.
I usually am crippled with anxiety when I watch myself, and that didn't change this time. I found it horrendous. But I felt, it was just so exciting. We've been working on it for such a long time. It felt like, this epic piece was coming out, and it would have been a crime for me to miss it. So just, I mean, I just wanted to see all these other fantastic actors do all their amazing work in it, and I'm glad I did, because it was definitely worth the pain for when I came on screen.
But do you feel like, having watched your performance in season 1, having watched it, that will have an impact on your performance in season 2, do you think?
I've already erased it.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Good.
Great, fresh start.
Yeah.
Just block it out.
Yeah.
Just bury it deep inside.
Jack, what about you? Did you watch when you were on? And I would love to know if you continued watching after that too.
No, I mean, yeah, I feel the same as Tom.
Yeah.
I find it too upsetting to watch myself. I have seen like episodes here and there, and obviously when you do ADR, right, when they do post-production and you have to re-record certain lines, if the sound quality wasn't good enough, then yeah, you do see your performance in snatches. And obviously I had loads of friends who were big into the show, and they would try and drag me into their watch parties. So I have seen like, you know, episodes here and there, but not the full thing. So I'm sorry, but
Good for you.
what it's like being a self-hating actor.
I was gonna say, I think that sounds like a good boundary for you to have. You know, I respect that very much.
It strikes me, listening to both of you and conversations we've had now and previously, that how important safety and feeling safe on the set, to be creative, to try things is. When you go into a scene like maybe the banquet scene, you know, Viserys' last dinner, family
dinner.
in House of the Dragon, or the Purple Wedding in Game of Thrones, how long does that take? How long is one day of shooting? How much would that encompass? And what is your prep like for that one day?
Well, I mean, the banquet scene took like maybe 2 weeks.
Wow.
About a week and a half, if I remember correctly, because there were so many different angles that we needed. Everyone had their own moment, and then there was the big rock that they kicked off the fight and stuff. So there's lots of different angles there, lots of different setups, and we're blessed on a show like this that, you know, we have the time to use mostly, and and people are willing to get every single detail of it right before we move on. You know, it's not like that on every project. A lot of the time we're rushed due to budget, whatever it is. But we're very, very lucky that we get the time to really get it right and try different things in the process and the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think having the time to really get into a scene, because I guess if you're doing a piece of theatre, you have a very long process of rehearsal, and you can figure out different moments and figure out how you feel, whereas more so for acting for screen, if you're lucky, you might have a little bit of rehearsal, but then you're just thrown into a scene and you might have to be done by lunchtime and then it's just gone. So I definitely, for the Purple Wedding, it was about a week as well in Croatia. So that was really nice to sort of sit with the various moments and luxuriate in the scene.
So we're going to get to audience questions in just a minute, but before that, I would love to hear from each of you how often you're getting recognized these days. I don't know, I think partly just because it's like, you know, obviously you're not wearing those same costumes. Jack, you don't have the hair. I mean, you do have the hair. But yeah, I don't know, like, how often are people harassing you about having been a horrible person on Game of Thrones a number of years ago at this point?
Well, I mean, I never get harassed.
Okay, good. I'm really glad to hear that. That's
But
great.
it's
What a shame.
I know. I obviously didn't do a good enough job. But no, yeah, I mean, it really depends. Sometimes it kind of takes you unawares, and yeah, you forget that the show lives on. I definitely feel like maybe people have been recognizing me a little bit more recently, because with the success of House of Dragon, perhaps people have been rewatching Game of Thrones or something like that. But it's always a really nice interaction. Yeah. How about you? Do you get stuck to
Well, probably not as much as you did. You did it. I've done it for a lot longer than I have. But yeah, usually I have a beard, so I get away with it.
Oh, nice.
And I'm not walking around in Aegon's wig.
Yeah, that seems like it would be helpful.
So, no, I feel like it doesn't happen. But I was in a pub the other day in London, and the barman recognised me and gave us free pints all night, so that was great.
Sweet. That sounds like a perfect balance of it all.
You should shave more often.
Yeah, right?
Satisfied with the length of the wig?
Say again?
Satisfied with the length of the wig?
You know what? That was a process. That was a real process. When I first put it on, it was down here. And I looked like the Witcher or something like that. And then all the producers came in, and we all had this discussion about who Aegon is and how he would have his hair. And I was pushing the idea that he was sort of this libertine who doesn't wash very often, he's greasy, he's vulgar, he doesn't really care how he looks. And everyone was on board with that idea. So we just kept going shorter and shorter and shorter, but very incrementally, like an inch at a time, because you can't make a wig longer. So it's coming off, coming off, coming off, and it got to about here, and we thought, okay, that's probably enough. So I don't like Ewan who plays Emmond has to, have a long wig, and he sits on it when he sits down. So that's not ideal. I avoid that.
Should we go to good audience questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Starting this up.
Good morning. My question is for Tom. So when you first found out that you were going to be the king, you didn't want, Aegon didn't want it, and then it seemed like after the ceremony was done and he heard the crowd kind of embrace him and he raised his sword and all that stuff. Do you feel as though he's going to, that kind of motivated him to be a good king, or he's going to continue on with his normal attitude and be a king sort of in the process of how Joffrey was, like a bad guy?
Well, I think in that moment he hasn't quite, he doesn't know. He's not made his mind up yet. I think that immediate moment of him realising that people were screaming his name and cheering, that was an injection of validation for him that he's never had before. And I think he really felt the power in that moment. So to revel in that felt right. In terms of where he goes, look, I can't talk to you too much about that. I've got a red dot on my chest, I don't know if you can see it.
Right about there.
But yeah, I think it'll be interesting whichever way it goes. I'm sorry to not be more about out with that one.
You were the second person to make an assassin joke about an NDA.
They're here.
It's really good in season 2. It's
They're at the back,
amazing.
yeah.
Over here.
Hello, my question is for both Jack and Tom. So we all saw how in season 8 we had Daenerys and Cersei against each other. How would it have been if it were, King Joffrey and Aegon? How do you think that would have played out?
Going against each other. Well, Joffrey's pretty cowardly deep down, so I don't think he would have won.
Well, to be honest, I think they would have just been best mates.
Holding hands, running through the meadows.
Skipping through the flea bottom.
That's like
Tango
the
and wine.
Robinson Nightmare.
Yeah. Going to little boutiques, trying on different hats. Slumber parties. Yeah, there it is. Peace would have reigned.
They'd have a flat share, they'd live with each other, and host parties.
It's lovely.
That's such a delightful answer.
This question is for my husband. And my husband. If you, knowing everything that you've done to my family and everybody else, how would you, if you had a chance and the writer told you, okay, you have to die, you can pick your ending, how would you choose to die? And don't pick the way you did, because that, to me, I think you got out of it. You should have been killed.
Wow. Everything's totally fine.
This kind of seems like a private conversation. I think we should have this in public. Hearing from my lawyers. No, perhaps, people have said perhaps a more torturous death. Do you have any suggestions? Seems like you might.
Yeah, I think they should have cut you from your legs first, and then your arms, and then since you beheaded my dad, then I would have let a dragon bite your head. I would have called it out.
Okay, well, it's been great seeing you.
If it's any consolation, the pie was very dry.
Hi there. So my question is for both Jack and Tom. So for Joffrey's reign as king and Tom, at the start of your tenure as king, obviously you're kind of headed on a more negative trajectory as kings, like kind of a darker path. Is there a moment or is there a character that, had it gone differently, you think things might have turned out better for your character? There might have been a better ending or perhaps a brighter future as king?
I mean, yeah, it always starts from the beginning, doesn't it? I think if Aegon wasn't as aware or wasn't pushed aside from the way he was, and Rhaenyra wasn't always the favourite child, and wasn't all that sort of into family, sort of emotional torture from the beginning, I think Aegon would have been a different person. But equally, who am I to say that? Maybe he's just, that's the way he's wired, and nature and nurture is that whole discussion, isn't it? So, I have no idea.
I probably have the exact same answer. Yeah, it's, I guess, everyone's a product of their upbringing, but maybe just genetically there's something bad about these characters. Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps there's redemption in store. I don't know.
Question is for both of you. You both mentioned about having anxiety and self-hating your performance, and I've started doing a lot more public speaking with my service dog for veterans, and maybe there's some inspiring public speakers and actors in the audience. What advice would you give about dealing with acting anxiety, performance anxiety, and maybe being hard and self-critiquing yourself?
That's a good question. I think for me, the main thing I have to do is remember why I do it in the first place, and remember that I've wanted to be an actor since being a kid, and that was always a way for me as a child to express myself and make me feel like I could escape and become someone else for a little while and not have to deal with my own with my own issues. And as I've gotten older, it's become sort of a cathartic process, and it's not always the most pleasant, and I do sort of have to sometimes dive, like we're talking about now, you dive into some of the darker parts of yourself. But it's watching it back for me. I can't to engage with the end product. Sort of seems like you're unwinding a lot of the progress that you've made through the process of making something. It's not why I do it, and I'm sure I can speak to Jack there too. It's not why we both do this job, but for me personally, it's something that I feel like I have to do. Otherwise, I'll just have to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. I think a lot of people are their own worst critics, right? And there's a certain amount where it's a healthy level where you always want to improve, and as long as you're just competing against yourself and you're always just want to get better and better and better, obviously you can slide into a destructive thing where all you can see are the flaws, and you do need a certain amount of self-confidence to act, and you need to believe in what you're doing. But yeah, I agree with Tom that the sort of the end product almost has nothing to do with me, also because there's so much editing, and as Tom mentioned, you might prefer a take that you did, but then the director will choose a different one. So a lot of what you see on screen is slightly not up to the actor. It's based on the storytelling that other people are in charge of. So I'm always I tried to be happy with myself on the day, and I always leave set feeling like I did the best I could do. So yeah, maybe I'm not the best person to give advice about like not hating yourself, but yeah, but watching yourself, yeah, it's not really part of being an actor, you know. Yeah.
It's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Shaya. My question is for Tom. Obviously, you said you read some of the source material to prepare, but I'm curious just how far past the current season you read. Like, are you familiar with where Aegon's arc
Let's
ends?
not spoil anything.
Not spoilers.
Okay,
for
just making sure.
I'm curious if you are really avoiding those spoilers, or if you just have found out and you kind of have to ignore it as you work on your performance.
That's a good question. I think, there's always something to be said for living in the moment and being present with where the story is. On this occasion, the book was so good that I just carried on reading, and I hadn't really noticed that I'd surpassed the point in which season 1 ends. But also, I'm in prep now for season 2, so there's a lot of work going into that. I think it's important that the research is done. But yeah, that's not been the case on every project I worked on. There's been times where the history of it I've not looked into because it hasn't been relevant for my character or the future or whatever, but yes, I have. I've plowed right through. Thanks.
This question is for Tom. First, you are very attractive.
Not a question, but okay.
So were you a super fan of Game of Thrones before you even interviewed for the part for House of Dragons?
Well, this might upset a few people, but I hadn't ever seen Game of Thrones when I auditioned for House of Dragons. I hadn't ever seen it, and I think that was a good thing, though, personally. And Miguel's project and Ryan Condell agree. So I did the self-tape and spoke to Ryan and Miguel the day after. And I said to them, I've got a heinous confession to make. I'd never seen it. And they said, "Oh, it's okay. It's a prequel, so it's not totally important that you do. It might give you a good idea of the world, though." And I said, "Well, obviously I'm going to watch it. All my friends had. I just completely missed the boat." So I started it and I blitzed the entire thing in about 3 weeks. Absolutely fell in love with it. Couldn't stop watching it. And yeah, hugely admired this young man over here. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. And I think it really helped actually to have a good idea of what the world was. And, yeah. Thanks.
Hello, this question is for Jack. I'm curious if you think Joffrey had an inkling that Jaime was his father, and regardless what he kind of thought about Jaime.
Yeah, I think he probably did. I think there was a scene in which he confronts Cersei about it, sort of trying to get an honest answer out of it. I think he probably always had a complex about who his dad was, and yeah, just having daddy issues, I guess. So yeah, I don't know where, how he would have figured it out, but it was definitely on his mind, and it probably played on his mind quite a lot, and yeah, I think he always wanted, say, Robert's approval, and probably Jaime's too. I guess he never got it.
Hello. So my question is for both Jack and Tom. As playing the villain, what is kind of like the onset tension between your other crew members or castmates?
Well, hopefully there's no tension with the crew members. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's interesting. It changes. Depends on what the scene is. There was a couple of occasions where we were about to start a scene, and someone who was sort of was the opposite side of the fence to you in that situation. We just naturally avoid each other before the camera started rolling. And I think that's just because everyone is such a great cast of dedicated actors that everyone is so invested in what they're doing that it sort of seeps in somewhere. And then on cut, everyone's best friends again. But for that sort of run up to it, there was sort of some avoidance, and Just so with that first time when you make eye contact with someone, the cameras are rolling, it's electric, and there's that immediate sort of, I don't know, it's just a bit different. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I probably didn't take my job that seriously. So it's a much better way of being a professional actor. But yeah, I mean, there were obviously strange moments where you'd be acting in a scene and yes, say treating my poor wife there, Sandra, quite terribly. And obviously myself and Sophie got on so much, and she's such a nice person that it definitely felt strange at some points when you're still a person treating another person terribly, even if it's just make-believe. So yeah, I try to shake it off as quickly as possible.
Jack, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you on your recent wedding.
Oh, thanks.
The question is actually for Tom, and I work for a Newcastle-based company, so I always ask anybody from Manchester this: United or City?
Always United. No, I'm not seeing the score, don't tell me.
Morning, Jack and Tom. I have one question for both of you guys. For Tom, I have my question is, how would you convince your older brother not to kill Luke, and what would that conversation be like?
I'm so sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
It's a bad echo. The echo's going, wow.
I'm
sorry.
My question is, how would you convince your older brother not to kill Luke, and what would that conversation be like? And Jack, my question for you is just why would you just spoil a brat? Like,
you want to take that one?
Why was I such a spoiled brat? Yeah. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun being a spoiled brat. I mean, it's just the best. You should try it out sometime.
I agree with that. How would I have convinced him? I don't know if I would have convinced him. I don't know what's Egon got to gain from. I don't think I would have convinced him. But if I would have said he's one of God's creatures.
That's lovely.
Questions for Tom. Firstly, I'm a huge fan of your band. So, do you think Egon regretted not being there the night Eamon lost his eye? Could he go back and change it if he could, like being there and help him?
I mean, yeah, it's not what he intended. I think it was a joke that went too far, that sort of hurt in a way that he probably didn't intend it to hurt. But now it's a great excuse for there to be, even more bad blood between the two sides. And that's why the writing's so good, isn't it? Because it just inflates everything. Everything's more, the stakes are higher. So yeah, I guess in Egon's mind he would prefer Evan to have two eyes, because he'd probably be a better warrior.
Depth perception, yeah.
Yeah, peripheral vision and all that. But I think it, again, maybe not, because it could have been the fire in Eamon's belly that made him become the man he is. So, who's to say? Thanks.
Hi, this question is for the both of you. First, Tom, you play a Targaryen, so how would you counsel Joffrey about the fact that he's the product of incest? And then, Joffrey, how would you respond to that? What would be your reaction?
Do you want us to do a little scene now? How would I counsel him on being incest?
That's the question.
Yeah, how would you, let's say he's struggling with it.
We're friends.
Yeah.
We're friends.
We're friends.
You're like, dude, I'm a Targaryen, it's fine.
Okay.
But you do it, man.
Okay.
Sound speed rolling. I don't know, man. It's just been on my mind a lot.
I can tell you've been struggling. You've not been yourself recently.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing that I'm a product of incest.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Have you had a word with mum and dad?
Yeah, I mean, they just keep making out in front of me.
Hey, you're gonna go get beer.
Yes.
Cool.
I think we got it.
Hi. If Joffrey were a Targaryen, this is for you. If Joffrey were a Targaryen, what do you think would be the first thing he will do with a dragon?
Ooh.
If Joffrey were a Targaryen, if had a dragon.
If he had a dragon?
Yeah. What would be the first?
Sounds ominous.
I think it would just be terrible. I don't think he'd know how to control this, and it would get out of hand very quickly. Definitely, you would need the fire brigade would have to be called. Probably, yeah, it's just shouldn't be put in his hands, I think. Yeah.
So we just have a couple more minutes. We're probably not going to be able to get to everybody, but we'll get through as many as we can.
Throughout the entire series, is there any character you would choose for your characters to kill that you didn't kill?
If we could choose a character for our characters to kill, that we didn't kill.
Easy. It begins with R. And it sounds like Numenera.
How would you kill it?
How would I kill her? Firstly, I'd start at her legs.
Hi boys, my question is for Tom. How can you describe yourself in 3 words, and Aegon as well, so we can see how opposite or alike you and your character?
Oh, God. Okay. Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. I'll start with Aegon. I think Aegon is calculated, tired,
Handsome.
and handsome. Thanks, Dan. And I'm also tired, hungry, and hungover. So yeah, similar. Sorry that took so long.
I think this needs to be our last question.
Hi, so I guess one thing that hit me that you guys also have in common, other than being in the Game of Thrones universe with similar characters, is that before that you guys also both worked with Christopher Nolan. So Jack in Batman Begins and Tom in Dunkirk, and I was just wondering what that was like.
Well, I think Tom probably has a better memory of working with Christopher Nolan than I do. When I was about 8 years old or 9 years old or something. Yeah, it was great. It was cool being in a Batman film when you're a kid. Is sort of the dream. I remember he was very, very relaxed and laid back. Well,
Yeah, I mean, Chris is a master of what he does. He knows everything about every single department on a film set. You know, he's a virtuoso in what he does. So it was just really cool to be able to. That was my first ever job out of drama school as a professional actor. So I was soaking in everything I could possibly soak in on that set. And you know, there's very few directors out there who are as magnificent at what they do as Chris Nolan.
Should we take one more?
We'll take one more.
One more.
First of all, Tom, I'm disappointed. Rhaenyra is awesome. But my question is for Jack. Given what we know about Joffrey, Do you suppose Tommen and Marcella's deaths would have affected him?
Oh, I've never thought about that actually. I don't think so, to be honest. Yeah, sadly. He didn't really seem to care much about them, so yeah, probably not. So, it's a nice note to end.